Donald Trump has suggested making Canada the 51st state of the United States, but he isn't the first president to entertain the idea of annexing Canada. The debate over the sovereignty of the land north of the 49th parallel predates Canada's emergence as a unified political entity. Let's look at a past that the citizens of both countries have mostly forgotten. The year was 1813. General Zebulon Pike led an attack from the south, marching into Upper Canada with a force of American troops. They laid siege to the city of York, and it seemed like victory was near. But then, the British and Indigenous troops, knowing they were about to lose control, made a bold decision. They blew up their own Grand Magazine, a massive stockpile of gunpowder, killing dozens of American soldiers, including General Pike himself. The Americans, though victorious in battle, suffered huge losses, and they couldn't hold the city for long. After the war, the US and Canada agreed on a border, the 49th parallel. America turned westward, expanding under the belief of manifest destiny, the idea that the US was destined to stretch from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The Republic of Texas, that had declared independence from Mexico just 10 years ago, was annexed. California, Arizona, and several other states were taken from Mexico, first by war and then by treaty. Florida was acquired from Spain, and Alaska bought from Russia for just $7.2 million. And these two former enemies became partners and friends, trading in goods, services, and most importantly, in culture. By World War II, the US and Canada were military and economic allies. They fought together, traded together, and by the 1980s were each other's largest trading partners. The once burned-out town of York evolved into Canada's economic powerhouse, now known as Toronto. In 1992, along with Mexico, the US and Canada signed NAFTA, eliminating many tariffs and trade barriers. And its modern version, USMCA, was signed by none other than Justin Trudeau and Donald Trump in 2020. Everything seems settled, right? Happy ending. So, why is Trump 2.0 suddenly talking about annexing Canada? Yes, there's the fentanyl crisis and illegal migration, but when it comes to the reasons for annexation of Canada, fentanyl and illegal immigration are just the tip of the iceberg. An iceberg that's melting pretty fast, like literally. Permafrost is vanishing from the Arctic. The summer ice-free period of the Arctic region has increased from 2 weeks in the 1980s to over 3 months in recent years. And that opens up something that could change global trade forever. The Northwest Passage, a shipping route much shorter than the Panama Canal as the Earth is flattened at the poles. The Panama Canal route from Shanghai to New York is 12,000 nautical miles. The Northwest Passage reduces this to around 7,900 nautical miles. That's a 35% reduction in distance. This could save 10 to 15 days of transit time, drastically slashing fuel costs. Canada has time and again claimed sovereignty over the Northwest Passage. Prime Minister Mulroney told Reagan that Canadians owned it, lock, stock, and icebergs. But the US still refers to Canada's claims to the Northwest Passage as illegitimate. And it's not just trade. The Arctic is loaded with oil, natural gas, and rare earth minerals, the stuff needed to power the next century. In fact, the Arctic holds 13% of the world's undiscovered oil reserves and 30% of its undiscovered natural gas. It also has large deposits of rare earth minerals crucial for manufacturing electronics, batteries, and military equipment. And guess who's ahead in the race? Russia. Russians have already planted their flag on the Arctic seabed. They've built military bases. And China? They're investing heavily too, claiming to be a near-Arctic nation, whatever that means. And this is where Canada and Greenland come in. 40% of Canada's landmass and almost the entirety of Greenland lie in the Arctic region. If the US annexes Canada and Greenland, it'll have direct control over the Arctic. That means trillions of dollars in trade, oil, and minerals. But the economic opportunity comes at a huge cost: the environment. The Arctic is one of the most fragile ecosystems on the planet and holds key to our survival as a species, but it is a crucial topic in itself and deserves a full video. For the scope of this video, I will focus on trade and economy. Coming back to the US and its president's obsession with Canada. So his vision is to cripple Canada's economy by replacing its exports with domestic production. forcing Canada into economic ruin until it has no choice but to join the US for survival. But can America really do that? The short answer is, well, no. $100 billion of cheap heavy crude oil and diluted bitumen crude oil flow mostly from the oil sands of Alberta and other provinces to refineries in the US. In fact, in the last decade, the US has imported much less from the three other heavy crude oil providers, Mexico, Venezuela, and Iraq, increasing its reliance on Canadian oil. And why wouldn't it do so? Canada isn't a part of OPEC, so it doesn't artificially control prices, leaving it to the free market to decide. Pipelines ensure a quick and steady flow even if maritime routes are blocked. And a stable democracy ensures that multi-decade endeavors to build pipelines and refineries can be taken without the fear of a despot coming and ruining the relationship. The US doesn't even have enough heavy crude oil in its own country, so this reliance on Canadian oil is here to stay. Tariffs will only make it more expensive for US consumers, but the supply lines are unlikely to change even in decades to come. Trump wants to replace Canadian lumber too. Well, that's just not possible. A third of US softwood lumber comes from the cold regions of Canada, and all of that is pretty high-grade lumber, the kind of quality the US doesn't consistently find in the hotter southern yellow pine. Colder states like Oregon and Washington have the quality, but they just can't produce sustainably at the scale that Canada does. Oh, you don't need our cars, they are your brands anyway. And to build the cars, you do need our iron ore, aluminum, copper, zinc, and did I hear EVs? Nickel, cobalt, lithium, you need everything. The US doesn't have enough reserves, Canada has it, and it also has a workforce that is not as expensive as the US workforce. The United States needs Canada, not just the country, not just the land and its resources, but its people and, our way of thinking, which is similar yet different. And in many aspects, Canada and the US are entirely integrated and act as a single entity. NORAD, or the North American Aerospace Defense Command, is a joint military organization of the US and Canada. NAFTA and USMCA have made the US and Canada, along with Mexico, a single integrated trading economy. Border management, management of the Great Lakes, Social Security Totalization Agreement, North American Energy Working Group, Five Eyes, you name it. The two countries already behave as fully integrated entities in various domains. Yes, Canada can do better by breaking intra-provincial trade barriers and cozying up to the EU, but let's face it, when your trucks and pipelines can access a third of the world's GDP, crossing the Atlantic is not really a top priority. Canada's sovereignty, however, is deeply tied to its national identity. Our universal healthcare system ensures that everyone, regardless of income, has access to essential medical services. Canada places great importance on the acknowledgement and respect of First Nations, working towards reconciliation and honoring the rich cultural heritage and contributions of Indigenous peoples. Canada's multicultural society is built on the idea of integration and coexistence, whereas the US leans more toward a melting pot ideology, where a more homogeneous culture is emphasized. As Trump talks of annexing Canada, he should remember its history of the places he currently inhabits. In 1814, British-Canadian forces torched the Executive Mansion in revenge for the US burning York. The building was repainted white, becoming the White House. When the US tried to annex Canada militarily, they suffered a burn. If they try again economically, history will repeat itself. Please subscribe to my channel.